Welcome back to the Mercy Cast, where we are learning the art of compassion through life's adversity. I am your host, Raleigh Sadler. I like street art. I don't know why. I think it turns a city into a gallery. You start to see beauty in a different way, in a place that maybe historically hasn't been beautiful. It changes your perception. It makes you think that maybe this isn't all that there is. Maybe there is something more beautiful under the surface. And I think street art is a testimony to our own resilience, but I could go on and on and on and on about that. At the end of the day, I had several students working with me in New York City, and I sent them on a scavenger hunt. And I said, guys, we're going to look for beauty in New York City. And this is what I want you to look for. I sent them out to find a piece from one of my favorite street artists in the world, Dan Kitchener. I honestly sent him out. I had ulterior motives. I couldn't find the piece anywhere. I had been looking, and that's what I do in my off time when I'm in New York. I look for different pieces of street art and go into galleries and things like that. But I couldn't find this work. So I just send them out, and they're like, we couldn't find what you were looking for, but we found this tattoo shop. And we could look through the window, and we kind of sat there creepily staring through the window, looking at this piece on the wall. And so it's there. And I'm like, where is this shop? So I go in, and awkwardly, they're like, you want a tattoo? I'm like, no, I just want to stare at the wall. And it was great. I was invited back, but I reached out to Dan Kitchener, and I was like, hey, I found this piece. It was great. And he goes, do you know Mikhail? I said, no. He goes, you need to know Mikhail. And so that started a journey that led us here. Today, I'm joined by Mikhail Andersson. He is a tattoo artist, and he's the owner of First Class NYC. Mikhail, welcome to the Mercy Cast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And now I know how you found me. I was wondering, actually, but Dan is amazing human being, to be honest with you. And, like a lot of things that he did, they lasted like a year, 2 years, and then they either repainted it or somebody fitty sprayed. Like stuff in a city doesn't last unless it's somewhere in Williamsburg, or unless there's a camera that is like protecting the art itself, or if you're Banksy, nobody's going to touch you.
Were you in New York for Banksy's residency?
I was. I've seen Banksy in person. I've seen when nobody knew who Banksy was, and I've seen his pop up, the stuff he was doing with buses and trucks with animals over 10 years ago. I've seen that in person. It was interesting to see when they did a Banksy museum and the stuff that he revealed. I think he was revolutionary in the way that he didn't show who he was for a long time. And it was like very interesting political things pop up here and there. Very inspirational. Things like that translate into tattoos. I remember like 15 years ago, people come and get some pieces that Banksy did as a tattoos, like a girl with a balloon and like specific things because they're very meaningful, and they would get tattoos like that. I think I incorporated so many of his pieces into Trash Polka and some of tattoos that I did.
What goes through your mind when people come in for tattoos and they want something from a famous street artist?
I think people, when they get a tattoo, for them, it's like an emotional point in their life, because a lot of people get something that captures that moment. So they're usually getting because something happened with them and that changed them, like somebody passed away or some political event. I even remember when COVID happened, I was guest spotting in LA, and I tattooed a lot of like all this gas mask and like the plague doctors and stuff. It was interesting, but all around us, it affects us. I tattooed a lot of animal portraits and like stuff for family members or somebody passed away. It's like almost every day somebody comes in and they want to capture that moment or something that represents somebody in their family. And it's a lot of that. I think it's very hard to frame the street art, but we kind of process things through ourselves. So the person that went through something and they have a lot to share, that's what they put out as art. If you haven't had life experiences, if you haven't had something deep, how could you write? How could you put a short film, a movie? How you can paint? If you haven't seen the world, if you haven't seen life, if you haven't had pain or happiness. It's like you have to be deep to be able to connect with people around. Because if you just sit in one spot in the closet and you haven't seen the world, your mind is just, it's small. It hasn't evolved. You need to go to museums and see art, and it changes you. Same for a street artist. When they're putting something big out there, it's mostly the people that been around and experienced things and lived in different countries and seen from poor to rich and connected with people. Same, I think, about writing or putting stuff out there. Otherwise, it's just blank. It doesn't have any deep, doesn't have any soul. Tattoos are a little different than paintings or street art. I feel like tattoos, in terms of like if I'm painting something or I'm drawing something, I can erase it. You get a tattoo for the rest of your life. And like I said before, it's mostly people getting stuff because they want to capture that moment. Like I've had tattoos that kind of put me in that time frame. I look at certain pieces that I have, and it was like I was that person back then. I felt this way. It brings me back to that exact moment, basically. And maybe I wasn't a good person. Maybe I was angry. Maybe I was going through something. But a lot of people, they, as far from my experience, I've been tattooing for 18 years or maybe even 19 years. When people come in, and when I was back in Russia, people were getting pieces because it was cool. It was very underground and tattoos were not accepted. And then I feel like when I moved to States and I worked in Miami, in Florida, I think a lot of people get something that captures that specific moment. And it's interesting. Sometimes you would even get somebody with no tattoos. Like I had a consultation recently with somebody in their 70s, try to get a tattoo. Like I tattooed a lot of people. It was like a first tattoo for somebody who's like 75 or close to 80. And, like people go through phases. Like I tattooed somebody who his son passed away and he was in his 70s. He never had a tattoo, but he just wanted that specific photo, that emotion. People get like a piece of art their dad painted, and it just speaks to them. And the dad passed from cancer, something else happened. I've had stories like that, and they put it on their skin so they can look at it every day because it's captures that moment, that feeling, like it attached to that specific feeling. If it's happiness or pain or a memory, they just want to carry it with them because it stays with you for the rest of the life. But I love street art. Dan is actually, I randomly discovered him, and he had a lot of pieces, and it was in Jersey once you're driving through the tunnel and you go to Jersey City. But a lot of his pieces didn't last. Like the Miami, yes, it's still there, but it's kind of areas where the murals are, like the street art is, it's protected. When it's Williamsburg, like specific areas, they're protected. And if they want to change, the owner usually puts the cameras and they hire somebody to repaint. But if somebody does something in New York, it usually lasts like a year and then gets tagged and graffitied over. And then they basically get somebody else to do like a new piece. So he had literally 3 pieces in Chinatown, and 2 were around the same area, but they're gone. Like both of them are gone, and there's something ugly there.
Really bad too. And it's not far from your shop, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. Yeah.
Yes, very close. And it was funny when I was there last time when he was doing a new one, I actually bumped into him because that's my way to home. And I walked from a shop to a Subway, and he was doing a piece. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And while he was doing it for like a few days, I would come in and just talk to him when I had a break. And I was going through something, and we had a good conversation. So
And I love that because I feel like in this conversation, we're talking about street art, not because you're a street artist, but because art at the end of the day does. It expresses emotion. It captures moments and it can connect with us at a deep level. And what I love about your work and why your work seems to be important to you is you're able to help people tell their own story and tell those stories of the highs and lows, of the pain and just the process that they've gone through. I've never gotten a tattoo. I've always wanted to. I'll probably be like that 75-year-old man who walks into your shop and be like, yes, today is the day. I've finally gotten there. But for me, it's always been this thing of what is something I want to put on my body for the rest of my life. And I love how you talked about it. You kind of took the pressure off and you're saying, well, you know what? I can look at this and this is not where I was. This is what I was experiencing. Even though that tattoo may not reflect your life now, it reminds you of who you were, where you were, what was going on, and it kind of roots you into your own story. What's it like telling people's stories through ink?
It's very interesting because somebody sits with you in a chair and they also, while I'm working, they kind of share their life. So it's almost like go to a therapist, you spend an hour with them. You go to a tattoo artist, you spend 10 hours with them. So it's very different. I've connected with so many people that get tattoos once in a while, but we've been friends. We've been checking on each other. And like there's different amazing people that I've met through different industries that I probably would never meet in my life, but people that were pro-military, people they're politicians, doctors, whatever, every single thing. But it's like we're all humans, you know, and you meet somebody, you reflect with them, with their values and the stuff that they know, and you kind of stay connected. And it's always interesting. I love making people happy through the work that I do, through the tattoos. And I feel like art itself should make us better, happy, heal us in a lot of ways. Tattoo is not only that, it's also a connection because you sit close to somebody and you spend a day with them or whatever, a couple hours, and you get to know them. So it's like sharing life experiences. And sometimes you can be a pivotal point in their life. They come and they searching and they looking for something, they looking for answers. And then they come in your chair, they get a tattoo, but it's not only a tattoo. They might have a question and you might have an answer to that question. They just, it's going to reveal through a conversation. They might look for something and through a few hours of sitting and talking back and forth. But you know, like some people, I just don't vibe in, and like I come in and I'm like, whatever. I just put the headphones and I don't I don't talk with them. But there's a lot of people there. Like you start working, they're like, "Am I annoying that I'm talking with you, or you're okay?" And I mean, if tattoo is like super complicated, I have to think. In my brain, I have to like make the choices that I don't have reference to something else. Then I'm like, no, maybe we'll talk later. But mostly if it's like, if I feel good, if everything flows and everything goes fine, like I think I talk to people a lot. It's interesting to learn about people's life. And I think it changed a lot about my own view on life and seeing people's experiences through their eyes, just sitting with them for many years, like almost every day. It's a different person, different experience, different age, different job, and some things that I would never heard or seen or learned. Like I tattooed people that are CEOs of huge companies worth billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, and tattooed people that are, don't know, live on a government support, people that are disabled, people that been to Iraq, Iran, whatever, military operations, all kinds of stuff. It's always interesting. I love it. I mean, it's been some issues with my health, but I love what I do. And running a shop though in a city is stressful, especially now with this economy with a lot of things and people don't have money. Rent goes up every year, bills goes up every month, wages goes up. For like if I have front desk, I have to pay them more. Still charging the same or even less that I did 10 years ago. So it's like every year you make less and less, and you're like, what am I doing here? But some days, you know, you get somebody that is really nice, you do some nice piece of art and you make them happy. They write a message. Like I've had so many messages that people will be like, oh my God, this changed my life. This makes me so happy. Or so many people stop me. I got a first tattoo because I wanted to cover a scar. And I've had a huge scar and I was really young, like 16 or 17. I didn't want a girlfriend or somebody to see a scar. And I was like, let me get a tattoo just to cover a scar. So there's like something over it. I mean, people get that too. I've had a few clients in the past probably 15 years that got a huge accident. It was a burn of a house, something else. They had a skin burn. I think I've had a guy that had a huge chest scars from an accident, and he couldn't take his shirt off for 10 years. He was afraid to be in public. And when you do a tattoo and tattoo hides it, and you don't see the scars because you see the ink, and they can take a shirt off and feel comfortable in public, like to make somebody's lives better. It's a great feeling.
Well, that's what it sounds like as you're talking about this. There's something that's driving you. You had that experience of covering your scar, and that sounds like a healing moment. It's like you're not necessarily reflecting on the pain of the past, but you're seeing something new in its place. That's what healing looks like oftentimes. And you're getting to have these conversations where you're sitting across from someone, you're tattooing them. And if you're feeling the vibe, you're having the conversation, you're engaging them. I think that is such a human thing of allowing your healing to connect you to other people and speaking into their healing. How has that changed you as you have these connections with different people from completely different sides of life every day? How are you a different person now than you were when you were in Russia growing up?
I mean, I think you see the patterns. You start learning from things you see and learning more about the world. When you're a kid, everything's like magic. You don't know the world. You don't know the cruelty. You don't know the pain. You're exploring, basically. I think it was for me when I first came to the States, I was exploring too. And I was like, oh my God, this is new. This is amazing. This is so cool. This is like seeing things with almost like a newborn with your eyes until you get hurt or until you see how the world is and how it works and their reality. But I think the more you travel, the more you connect with people. It changes you. You need life experience. And I think like people are same everywhere. It's just certain countries that are poorer, more criminal, and like where the law doesn't work. It just we live and live, I hope, in a country where law works, where police works, and even with stuff that's going on right now. But still, like I think there is rules and laws, and if they even universal laws, and if there wouldn't be, we'll live in chaos. I think there's consequences to every action and even to every thought that we have, in my opinion. A lot of things are very deep. I'm a very religious person, but I don't like talking about it. When I was younger, I would go to people and I would try to put my perspective, like, hey, you need to be this way. It burned me and I learned that it's wrong. So I just try to be an example. Like I don't go to people and be like, hey, what you're doing is wrong, or you shouldn't be this way, or you should follow this, because I think as much as I tried, it hurt me more. You can't put your eyes the way you see the world into somebody else because they grew up in a different family, they grew up in a different country, different neighborhood, and they haven't seen the stuff that you've seen. Just sharing your experience is not going to change them. And I think the best, in my opinion, the best way to be is just to be an example and lead by example. It's like you see somebody throwing the garbage on the street, just pick it up. Like don't be yelling at people. Don't be try to pick a fight and all that stuff. And sometimes like we're human beings. Some things like I get triggered, yes. And I have sometimes my time when I'm over emotional or something else, and I can flip out. But if you came to a certain point, how they say there should be a core in you that holds you. If you bounce off that core, you wouldn't pass the line, and you would still come back and feel guilty of what you've done or what you thought or something like that. But
Well, I think you're describing just what it means to be a person. We are so complicated. None of us are changed by being preachy with each other. And sometimes when you're hearing all those voices, because I was in New York, I was in Manhattan for 7 years, you hear a lot of people and everyone's got an angle and everyone's saying something and everyone is passionate about whatever they believe in. What I
yeah,
found was it wasn't always the best arguments that swayed me. It was the people who were real, the people who were still human after they had experienced so much hardship or pain or suffering, the people who didn't get jaded, the people who stuck to their core identity. And if they were people of faith, the people who believed that, yes, though everything may fall away, I am loved and I can love people because of what God's done for me. How have you avoided getting jaded? Because I'm not going to lie, I had my moments in New York City where I'm just like, it's nasty. I mean, it is tough. But I got to a point where things didn't impact me. It's like, oh, I got cursed out by this guy on a train today, or this guy threatened to kill me sitting next to me as I was waiting for the train and I didn't even respond. I didn't move. And this guy's, all these things. And I'm just like, whatever. And I had gotten so numb that I don't know if I was jaded, but there were things that kind of shifted things in me that kept me from connecting with other people sometimes. How do you navigate experiencing hardship in a city and not getting jaded? And if you get jaded, what do you do about it?
I think how I said to everybody, like New York City, it's always love-hate relationship. And I feel like because of the weather is so bipolar, it swings because we're on an island, and like wind blows this way, it's one weather, wind blows that way, it's another weather. And the same people got affected by it so much. And the prices are so expensive and everybody have to work. Like I remember when I first moved here and I lived with a girlfriend that didn't work. And I had to work literally 7 days a week, 6 days a week just to pay the bills. And I, for first, I think a year, 2 years, haven't been, and I've been to New York before that. But when I moved from Florida, I haven't been to Brooklyn Bridge for 2 years. Like I haven't walked the Brooklyn Bridge. And I have been on the States for like 4 years, 5 years at that point. And never walked the Brooklyn Bridge. Like, and you're so caught up in all those things. It soaks you in. I mean, it's a system. It's like a lot of things when you learn how things work here. It's tough because people who had it before a specific time period, yes, they're all set because their real estate, whatever they had in 30s, 40s, whatever, it's worth millions of dollars. They basically live off the rent or whatever of that money. But when you come here, when everything's already so expensive, it's very tough. And I feel like New York, for me, had its really good time. It was probably 2015 to 2018. It was, in my point, it was amazing. It was a lot of people, a lot of things happening. You were able to make money enough to do anything if you work hard. Now it's a little different, but I think back then was probably my time period. I've been here 13 years. From my time period, it's probably was the best time, and prices were not that expensive. I see a lot of implants. I see a lot of kids, Gen Z, that comes here for experience, and the parents are paying for everything, and they live in Manhattan in all these $4, 5, $10,000 apartments and do whatever, not even worrying about anything. And I see them being happy, and I'm just busting my ass. I'm almost close to 40s and going to work every day is hard, especially right now with the economy, with the amount of competition. I've been so hard to my breaking point the last 6 months in the city. I want to move to Europe. I want to give it all up. And,
Yeah.
I have my own goals and I know what I'm here for. You still keep finding that support. Maybe God is guiding me, or it's as many times I fell, I always had something that would come up into my life and lift me up. I started doing things that I've never done before just to be able to make money on the side and all kinds of stuff. And I always somehow, even it's been hard, but I would break even on the months that I would make enough to pay the bills. Some project will come up, some good people, business perspectives, and all kinds of stuff. New York is not like a piece of a country, it's like its own place. Like I've been to a lot of, I've been all over Europe, I've been to Middle East, I've been to Israel, I've been to a lot of places in my life. Like I traveled a lot until I got stuck here. And even you go to United States, you go anywhere. I mean, LA is its own, yes, which I don't like what happened to LA in the past 10, 15 years. It literally downhill. I just love the nature there, but I don't like being there. I think New York, it's its own. It's always like people not care about showing off unless they're like super young in their 20s. But I've met people that are billionaires that just wear stuff that I wear, just regular jeans and t-shirt, and they have a personal driver. They can go anywhere they want, but sometimes they just take a subway because it's more convenient or experience, and it's I think it like breaks you and then reveals the true self, because I've seen people that come here and they've been good people, but it broke them and they became greedy, selfish, because the city is tough itself. But I also seen people like, and I think it changed me. Like if I would never leave here, I wouldn't be a person I am right now. And I think it breaks you, but if you have your core, if you have your values, it makes you better. Even if it's hard. Like I feel it's really hard to live here. I support my family. Nobody in my family makes as much as I do. And I support my parents, even they're like in their late 70s. But I feel like being here, I've seen stuff through people living in other places, but being here it made me learn so much more. And I know who is honest person and who is has some agenda or something else underneath. And a lot of I mean, I've from being here, a lot of people come to become something because it's quick. It's a lot of fast pace. And like when I came as a tattoo artist, people said you can push any style because you'll find your niche for any style. When I lived in Miami, people come for specific things. They would come for Japanese traditional or black and gray, and it's a lot of black and gray. New York, you want to put a splatter on somebody as a tattoo, you'll find clientele for that. You want to tattoo something like a pattern, you'll find a clientele. It's so many different diverse people that, because it's fast paced, if you need a growth, you kind of grow here because of that. I think it's good though. I don't know if I want to live here my whole life. And I feel like for everybody who live here, you need a break from the city. You need to get away. And as more like I stay here for some time, if I break a certain point, I'm like, I need to get out and stay somewhere for a week. Otherwise, you just go nuts with the weather swings and all this stuff. Though in a place where I lived before is quiet, but where I live right now, it's pretty loud all the time. Even I'm in Brooklyn, but I'm like one block from a highway, so it's always something.
One of the things you said was you talked about New York City between the years of 2015 and 2018. And I was there during that time, and it was incredible. Right around the end of 2018, that was when my time was coming to a close. My apartment burned down and all these things happened, and it was really tough. It was a really tough season, combined with being priced out of my next apartment with rent continually going up. I was unsettled. I was unsettled figuratively. I was unsettled literally. It was tough. But that did start this process in me that started to change me. It started to break me of the things that I was comfortable of. And it started to change the way that I talked to people. I was coming at it from more of like, man, I've got my own stuff going on too. I wasn't, it was really like, I would almost say like softening me because, I talked about earlier, like when you're in New York, sometimes it's kill or be killed. It's a tough, not all the time, but it can be a tough environment and you got to be focused. You got to be on your A game. You're constantly working hard because there's so many other people. And so you want to be the best you can be. It is exhausting. But I think in those moments when you start to break, one of the reasons I wanted you on is because you are honest in your social media. You do say like, hey, it's a tough week. Life is hard right now in New York. Not loving it. It's not my favorite. I'm here. I'm freaking here. I'm here. Don't want to be here, but I'm here. And but it's like just to see you kind of process through that. And I think that's so real and I think that's so healthy because a lot of us just want to go numb, act like it's not happening and find a distraction. But you're facing things. And I would argue that's changing you. And I think the things I've gone through have changed me and it helped me see my neighbor in a different way. How has the hard things that you've gone through in the city changed how you care for other people?
I want to treat other people the way I would be treated. When I opened the shop where I worked before, it was not a healthy environment. I worked in two shops in New York. There was a lot of egos, competitive people. Even I was making a lot of money. My idea, even to open a business, was to create something different, create where people could step in and help and care for each other and do things. But I mean, it had some bumps, and like artistic industry itself, it's a lot of egos, it's a lot of competition, and as artists, we see world. Every artist sees world in a different eyes with a different ways, and they don't like each other in some way. So it's like it's always been that way, especially with the tattoo artist. The industry is very, very competitive and ego driven. And I think because of what I've seen in other shops, I wanted to have that environment to help people grow and learn. It was painful when you're being treated a certain way, like you come with good intentions and work in a shop where somebody does something to hurt you, or they had a childhood trauma or something else, and they just want to put it on somebody just to feel better about themselves. I've worked in one shop for a year and a half, and I worked in another shop, which is probably biggest shop in United States. And by this day, like I left, I never had any issues with anybody. A few weeks ago, I went to a medical center, and the owner was behind me, and he started a physical fight with me and called me names and all kinds of stuff. I've always been a nice person and kind to everybody. I never had any issues or interactions, but a lot of people here are like that. Even in my shop, I've seen people come in as very opportunists. They just want to take when you're on top, when popular, when you build the clientele for the business, they want to come and take as much as they can in a short period of time and then walk away. I've had the physical location for 10 years, and in my 10 years, there's been a lot of that. And it's sad to see because I know some people that are very wealthy, and they said the big thing is showing up, but not showing up for a week, 2 weeks, a month. If you show up for a few years, you'll get somewhere. If you're consistent, like if you're a UPS truck driver and you just wanted to work there for a year because it's unionized and you make 150,000 a year, that's one thing. But if you want to work there to grow and put 5 years of your life, 10 years into the business, you might become a floor manager or maybe executive. I've seen people that made $1 billion because they were consistent. They were showing up and care. I've seen tattoo shop people come in and just want to work for a few months to catch a couple clients and open their own private studio. And then in my history, in my experience, those people failed after they went and opened and lasted for a year, 2 years and closed the same fast as they opened. I'm consistent. I mean, it's tough. It affects my health because it's been hard to make money and stay kind of relevant because of amount of competition and economical things. A lot of people don't have money for groceries, not for tattoos, like tattoos is a luxury. And people, as my experience when I was in Russia, when Russia was experiencing some stuff economically, it was like a huge drop in the tattoo interest because you want to, like, your main priority, provide for yourself, for your family, to pay for rent. Like tattoos, if you have extra, if you have so much money that you put it on savings and you want a tattoo, then you will get a tattoo. You're not going to get a tattoo when you're literally struggling paying bills. So it's been happening. I mean, past year and a half, and things are not looking better in certain terms. I'm happy I have consistent clients. I'm happy I have people that support us, come and they get tattoos because they know that's how we survive. That's how we pay the bills. So I have people that put a little bit in savings and get a tattoo every couple of months just to, so we're still afloat and like things work out.
You're providing a service and being consistent. And that's really, as you were talking, that's the thing I kept keying in on is you can have pushback. You can have people who come into your shop and try to tear you down from within. You can have people who are trash talking you in other industries. But the thing that keeps it going is you just keep showing up. You show up on the good days. You show up on the bad days. You show up when it's easy. You show up when it's hard. If we keep investing in our art, whatever it is, because I know we started talking about street art, that's how we connected. But then your art and how you tell your story as you interact with the stories of others, as we keep doing that consistently, we're building something. And it is so easy to want the quick fix. It is so easy to want to have everything now. We live in a world where delayed gratification, like people don't want to come and get a tattoo that's going to take a month to do. They want something fast. But
Yeah.
my friends who've had the tattoo, it did take several sessions. They're proud of it. They even
Yeah.
put on sunscreen when they go to the beach. They don't want anything bad happening to that piece of
First.
art, It's like because they put in the work. And as we end our time, how would you encourage our listeners to continue to be consistent in their work, even when times get hard?
I think you need a hobby to get your mind off things. And I got into like photography. I mean, I've done photography a long time ago, and then I stopped and got into photography like 2020 and like early 2021, and started doing it as a hobby. And it just makes me happy, keeps my mind off what I have with business, what I have with the personal things. Because once you go in a moment, like I tell everybody, I just have a day off, I pick a camera, go in a city, and I don't know what's going to happen. Or I have people that ask me to take photos of them, but I love personally just picking a camera and going somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to go. I mean, I have my own roots from past 3 years. I've been walking like that, but I would go in New York City itself. Every day is different. Every day is different light. Every day there are different things happening. You
Right.
can see a car blow up in front of you, cops chasing some criminals, or you can see, I don't know, a parade, or you'll see like you'll be at that specific place, that specific time, and you'll never see it again. And it's
That's
always amazing. And you can bump into somebody. I had people that followed me. And it's funny that when I first moved here, when the Uber came out and it was Uber Share, and I used to take a lot of Uber Share because it was cheap, it was like $10. And you'll meet random people. It's always random people. And they would follow you on social media. And then a few years later, when I opened a shop, these people are like, oh my God, I remember when I met you in an Uber and you're going to work and now you're a business owner. Congratulations. I'll be walking with the camera and somebody's like, hey, I have the same camera as you. Like, what do you do? Or let me see your photos. You just meet random people. I think to stay healthy, you need exercise or hobby or something else that just to keep your mind off things. And I think that's, especially in a fast pace, it's very good. It's very healthy. It helps me with anxiety. If you take a radio, pick it apart and put it back together, you're just not looking at your phone. You're not
Yeah.
checking the time. Like I was in a camera another day because the transistor blew up, and I I didn't look at a time. I started at maybe 9 p.m. I finished probably 1 a.m. But the time flew by, and it makes me happy. Like I know what I'm doing. I had a call with somebody who is a technician, and it's like a $30,000 camera. Like you can mess things up really easy. The prism itself is like $6,000-7,000. If you have a scratch or put a finger somewhere, it's done. But I just put a phone away and I sat and picked the front and all these things and screws and all that. And time flew by, and then I went to sleep. I was like, I'm happy. I think we're so caught up in phones, social media. I think working with your hands is being in nature, touching the soil, working with your hands. Doesn't matter what it is, mechanics, building something. It's very healthy for your mind. It's numbers and seeing the world, so much anxiety and other stuff. I think fixing or building or like a hobby, I don't know. You can go do boxing, work out at a gym, and drink more water, get a blood flow. But I think my biggest thing and a stopper in doing a lot of things is just the phone. It's a distraction. It's people constantly texting. I mean, I love like somebody just texted me that I haven't seen for a few years, and they wanted to meet up. But if you put your phone away, life is not going to disappear. Everybody tells me every year, they say, hey, do you feel like time is flying faster and faster? I was like, hey, if you go somewhere in Pennsylvania to Amish country and you put your phone in a locker and live there for a week, your time is going to be so slow. Every day is going to feel so boring and slow that you're going to hate it. But it's going to change your perspective, because I grew up with no phone. I've had my first cell phone, maybe in the ninth grade, 10th grade, there was no cell phones and time goes different. We're just constantly looking. There's just so many connections around and all that stuff. We used to meet with people to have a real life conversation and human connection before we would set up a meeting and have that experience. We don't have it anymore. We're just on a phone, texting across the world. I think that brings anxiety that we cannot focus on one thing. We just jump from one thing to another. And I think slowing down and having boundaries from social media is very, very important. Like, just have a day, just don't look at a phone, don't look at a social media. I've had a week when I was off like a few months ago, and I just put a phone and I deleted apps from my phone. I was like, I'm not going to look on Instagram or social media. I'm just going to do things. I was very productive. I fix I fix things that are at home needed to be fixed for 2 years. I've done a lot of literally like every screw that was loose, every single thing was leaking, something else. I've done all of it.
And I think doing that actually can heal us because it roots you in the present. Like what you're talking about with hobbies, it's not letting whatever you're going through monopolize all of your time, not let it take up all of your emotional energy. I think the same thing happens with social media as well. I've lost so much time on social media when if I can just put the phone down and go out and do a hobby. I like walking. And if I'm walking and not listening to music, I'm really present. I'm connecting with people along the way. And you never know what that next moment will bring. It could bring something good. It can bring something bad. But if you're not paying attention, you could miss it. You could miss what life is bringing to you. And I think that's what we do. We need to remember is really do something. Find something that you like. Life's going to be hard. Work's going to be hard. But invest in things that you like and see where that leads you. Mikhail, thank you so much for being on the MercyCast today.
No, thank you. It's really nice talking with you.